It's strange, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Amazing. Gerald Celente is our guest. Let's jam in one more before we go to break. Mark in California, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. My question revolves around the United Nations Law of the Sea Treaty, and I'm wondering how the Gulf spill will impact the ongoing debate in Congress. And I'll take my answer off there. Thanks, guys.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the...
Yeah, say that again.
I'm wondering how the law of the sea treaty debate...
Yes, law of the sea treaty moving through to turn the oceans over to the UN, which they'll then turn into a giant taxing grid. Gerald Celente is our guest. We'll be right back with him here in just a moment. TrendsResearch.com is the website. He is the leading trends forecaster in the world, and we're very honored that he spends so much time with us. I'm Alex Jones. Let's go ahead and go back to your phone calls. Up next is Greg in Kansas. Greg, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, Alex, if I can get straight to my question.
Yes.
Mr. Celente, could a possible way to mitigate the economic downturn be for communities who have their own currencies focused around silver?
Yeah, it's too complicated, and it's, as I keep hearing about these communities trying to do that, it's not really the issue. The issue is we need a productive capacity. We have to make things. We're 300 million people strong, and they've put it in our minds that we are unable to manufacture and do business with each other.
Well, plus humans aren't happy unless they're digging in the dirt or working on things or hammering nails. We're meant to build things. We're meant to pick apples. We're meant to pick figs. We're meant to be out getting chicken eggs. We're supposed to be out there working.
Exactly. We've gone from a nation of craftsmen and manufacturers to clerks and cashiers. Think of the word service sector. Try servitude. How about serf? Does servant fit in well? That's what they've done to this country. So the productive capacity that we see, once again, current events form future trends. We have this atrocity going on in the Gulf of Mexico. How about a real alternative energy? We spent $22 billion in today's currency to develop the atom bomb and build Los Alamos. If they were putting the energy and intelligence into having an alternative energy, that could be the kind
Well, Gerald, it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark, as you know. They've got warehouses full of it. MIT, a decade ago, developed a type of cheap solar panel that's just metal that could produce enough power to power every home, you name it, and the World Bank bought it, even though taxpayers paid for it, and isn't letting anybody have it. It is a fact. They are suppressing, as you know, just the Valhalla of energy because they want us dependent on them.
Exactly. And the other point is, look what got us out of the 1990s recession. It's simple. It was a productive capacity. The Internet revolution. I mean, here we are on Skype. Look at how the world changed since the mid-1990s. Products were invented, designed, manufactured.
And now with cybersecurity, they say every IT person will be government certified. The entire Internet and all computers will be under government certification for what you can build. They're creating a new dark age there. They've taken over healthcare. They're taking over the ranches, the farms. They're taking over the Amish. These people are a bunch of crooks.
No, they're not. They're fascists. They're fascist crooks.
No, I agree with you. It's just unspeakable. Let's jam in one more call. This is just incredible. George in Connecticut, you're on the air.
Hi, Gerald. I think an idea I've had. Why don't we have a simulcast with all the free thinkers like Alex and Gary Knoll that you've been on, and the guys that are growing in audience, and that also have an idea. Can you also give us the best battle plans to bring down these bankers and basically short-circuit this possible war they want to
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do because we're almost out of Gerald, I know I'm twisting your arm here, but can we go to break and come back with just 5 minutes without calls so you can cover solutions? Because I keep getting emails and calls off-air saying solutions.
Sure.
Okay, great. Let's jam in one more call before we go to break, and we'll come back with 5 minutes of solutions, and I'm getting into other news here. Oh, because we've got to let Gerald go. He's got work to do. Let's go ahead and talk to Dan in Alberta. Dan, you're on the air.
Hey, I'd just like to ask Gerald what he thinks about BP and Goldman Sachs selling their shares during the slower part of the year, and also if he thinks if Guantanamo Bay will finally be moved if Cuba is covered in oil. And thanks for taking my call.
You know, that BP issue is very, very significant. And, you know, I don't believe this guy, Tony Hayward, the president, that little slimy cat out there, has sold, what, a couple of 100,000 shares just before all this happened.
Yeah, he sold 35% of his stock days before. Goldman Sachs sold 44% of his, record sale.
Coincidental. Nobody's that great a speculator. And the other, I mean, did you hear this guy? BP will make it right, will fix it. Who are they kidding with this stuff? No, it's an inside job at some level. It's all an inside job. The only way you make hundreds of millions of dollars is being on the inside and knowing how the game is rigged. So that's the way I see it.
Wow, well said. Absolutely. I mean, the way they won't let anybody fix it. Obama wants to get his carbon tax now and saying, oh, it's a tax to clean up the Gulf. Total baloney. We'll be back with Gerald Celente to get some final solution points from him. Stay with us. Gerald, again, they're really taking the gloves off. What do you expect them to try against us in the future, A? And then B, what are some basic solutions to not just protect ourselves individually, but turn the tables on them and take things back at the state level? How do you expect the Tea Parties, as you said 3 years ago, that you predicted, the Second American Revolution, you called them tax protest groups. How do you see them morphing to the next level that you predicted?
All right, on the first level, when they lose control, they attack, and that's what the media is doing. People are reading less and less of those publications and watching less of those news broadcasts that you mentioned. So anytime, you know, they're going to do anything they can to discredit those that aren't members of the club. The Tea Parties are only the first step, and we see it going into something greater and more inclusive. They will demonize anything they possibly can, but it'll be unsuccessful in the long term. Again, you pointed out, and as we saw, Sarah Palin has put her imprimatur on it, and others, these talk show hosts. So they're trying to hijack the Tea Party, so therefore they're trying to demonize it in some levels. But that's just the beginning. The other question about the solutions. It makes news when these politicians show up somewhere and all of a sudden they start getting drowned out by crowds, just like Pom-Pom Pelosi did yesterday as she was shouted down for the continuation of the wars and all the other backtracking that she's done. People have to get involved, and it all starts within. And this isn't spiritual, you know, mumbo-jumbo. It's a fact. If you want, there's an old saying, when the people are ready, the leader arrives. People have to start engaging. They have to get in shape, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We cannot go on the way we are, where we're looking at a country that, of the people over 50, we're looking at 40% of them becoming obese, and try to achieve anything great. We have to get in shape in every way we can. You know, this John Wooden that just died, that great basketball coach from UCLA. I was reading his obituary, and he used to carry this little sheet of paper around, and one of the things that it said on it, create a masterpiece every day. Think in those terms of the greatness that you could achieve. Don't get dragged down by everybody else's trip. And as we as a nation to do it in a practical manner. I don't buy anything from China.
Well, here's an example to interrupt briefly, then we'll let you finish up and let you go, Gerald. I was watching a documentary last night with my children about on PBS, on KLRU locally, about the history of Pluto and how a farm boy with almost no education built his own telescopes out of old tractor parts and mirrors, impressed the local observatory, would come in there on the weekends and clean it and polish the equipment for free when he was like 17, 18 years old. and then on his own would take these high-tech systems of the day that the observatory didn't even know how to properly use and take photographs at night and then overlay them, and on his own found Pluto when he was like 20 years old. That's what made America great, with almost all the inventions and everything else. You know, he wasn't 18 years old, you know, out there getting drunk, acting like an idiot. He was out there finding Pluto. I'm sorry to digress, but there were so many Americans like that. How do we go from that to the jellyfish so many people are today?
Well, again, the change has already happened, and it's happening with the Tea Parties. So anybody that says that the future is predetermined is trying to rob you of your dignity and the soul within you. We create the future, and we could have an America far greater than we can ever imagine if people engage into it in a moral way. Not by violence or guns, but by minds and intellect. And again, on a simple level, it's summertime. Grow as much as you can.